thinking as in a W-2 mindset, the way to do more was just more.
Yeah.
More hours, more overtime.
Yep.
And like now I tell people, like, if you want my advice, like, don't work overtime.
Oh, really?
Work your 40 hours and work the rest of that time on yourself. Go learn a skill, go learn sales, go read a book on how to leave something, right? Like all the time I spent working as a lineman, I could have made way more money if I left earlier.
Welcome to 2000% Raise, hosted by the man who took down billion-dollar companies while sitting at his kitchen table, John Cerasani. Left that big job in my 20s to become an entrepreneur. Everyone said I would fail, but I got winner in my core. Sold my company to private equity and the money poured. I got millions times galore. Not bad for a kid from Schaumburg, right?
Welcome to another episode of 2000% Raise. Pretty pumped up about today's guest. It's a gentleman that I've really kind of made friends with over the last couple of months, seeing what he's doing on social media. He has some flair to him, but what really drew me is his expertise on the industry he works in. And let me just backtrack a minute. You know, life and health insurance require a license, just much like real estate, okay? And there's the level of entry to get into these industries is not maybe that high of a bar, all right? It's once you do it, once you're in that industry and have the license, you know, you got people over here making 7 figures, you got people over here that are, you know, below the poverty line doing the exact same freaking job. And one of the ways that you could really prosper in industries like that is to have a niche, okay? I did employee benefits, and then I took that even further with selling employee benefits to colleges and universities. That was my thing, okay? I'm licensed to sell individual life insurance to people. It's the same freaking license, okay? A few years ago, I went and bought a very large life insurance policy. I could have wrote it myself. The commissions on those policies are very big to the agent that sells them. I am well aware of that. I still went and used a third party that specializes in that space because even though the commissions would have been nice to make on that account on my own damn policy, this was way too important of a purchase for me to kind of wing it. All right. So I brought in experts that focused on that space and wrote a pretty large, you know, handsome policy. If you follow Anthony Ficarra on Instagram, you'll see that he gets in depth on how these policies work, and he's made quite a name for himself and is pretty successful in this space. So let me introduce Anthony Ficarra to the show. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, bro.
That's cool.
Thanks for being here. And you know, as I mentioned, we've kind of made friends here, buddy, and I'm seeing you grow from a gambling perspective. you came to my event in Vegas, and we were at I was up in the sky lofts, and you asked me some very specific questions. What does your average bet need to be? How long do you need to be playing to get one of these? And sure enough, 2 weeks later, I see your ass at the sky loft.
Exactly. I'm very I want to know how something works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I'm spending money on something, I want to know how it works, why it works, and if I can. It's not I can't afford it. It's how can I afford it? Okay. It's like what does it take to get there? So I was asking, okay, cool, what I got to get? All right, I can do that. Or if I couldn't do it, I'm like, okay, cool, that's cool. You know, you be you, but I thought maybe there's a super separation of where you and I were playing, and it was kind of close. I'm like, oh shit, I'm already kind of there. Like,
exactly.
Wouldn't take much more to get there. Next thing you know, like my host hooks me up. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm in the same
That's how they get you, man. They draw you in, bro. They draw you in. You know, and seeing what you bet per hand, seeing the kinds of cars you drive, and just the kind of the lifestyle you're living, Anthony. One would go ahead and assume that you've been quite successful in life insurance, but you weren't always in life insurance, were you?
No, correct. So I started out building power lines, blue collar as it gets, man. When I was building power lines, I thought I'd always build. I thought I'd be a lineman forever. That's what I was good at, what I liked, fuck the tattoos, you know what I mean? Like that. I didn't get all these tattoos to be in life insurance. I got them because I build power lines. I don't care what you look like. You're willing to do this job? You're fucking crazy enough to hang out of a helicopter? You look whatever you want, dude.
Right.
Get a neck tattoo, you know? Who gives a fuck? But that's where I came from, and then the transition was awesome. You know.
Well, you could make a lot of money doing that job, correct?
Oh yeah, I was making more than most people do anyway. Like more than most doctors. I was making between $250 and $350 standing on my head,
working your ass off, though, right?
That's the problem is the hours. I'd see my retirement statements every year, and it was 4,000 hours a year, 4,000 back to back to back. I'm like, motherfucker, I can't keep working like this. So
holy shit,
that's not like entrepreneur hours. Those are, in entrepreneur, we all work hard, right? I get that, but like when you're working for somebody, you're at their disposal, at their timeline, drive an hour to work. Like it's shittier.
And would you chase storms?
Yep, all the storm work. I mean, I spent months in Louisiana, back-to-back years.
Okay.
The Virgin Islands, I spent 6 months out there, right? Like,
and that's
big shit.
And that's the nice thing about a W-2 employee. When you're asked to do that shit, they have to pay it time and a half. Correct?
Yeah. Well, so I was union, so there's a contract, right? So we knew we knew we were getting paid before we left.
Okay.
So it's up to us to say yes or no.
Gotcha.
And we always just being greedy and thinking as in a W-2 mindset, the way to do more was just more.
Yeah.
More hours, more overtime.
Yep.
And like now I tell people, like, if you want my advice, like, don't work overtime.
Oh, really?
Work your 40 hours and work the rest of that time on yourself. Go learn a skill, go learn sales, go read a book on how to leave something, right? Like, all the time I spent working as a lineman, I could have made way more money if I left earlier.
You just said something there that really kind of leads to how we got in touch in the damn first place, right?
Yeah.
You have been proactive about putting yourself in the right rooms with people, and you came to one of my 2,000% raise events. That's how we met, but my event was not even close to the other shit you do. You do a bunch of shit, right?
Yeah. I've got I'm always putting myself out there. I got to speak to different events, different speaking events. I go to groups of realtors, groups of linemen. I speak to college athletes, right? Like, whatever I can be relatable to or semi-relatable. I can relate to anybody, but what if I could think if I have an in, I'm going to go talk to them, and it's usually positive. People don't, just because I'm in finance, I've learned people don't always like the guy in the suit. Yep. They rather have a guy in t-shirt and jeans and a Rolex. Relatable has been huge. And I first got in, I thought the t-shirt and tattoos are going to fuck me. Yeah. So I would go to Men's Warehouse like an asshole and spend $3,000 on clothes that I've worn one time.
Oh, God,
and I ditched them as quick as I could, and I've been successful kind of because of that,
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about, you just said realtors. You're talking to a group of realtors. Yeah. You got people in that room probably that are making $500,000 a year, and you got people that are making $30,000 a year. And they're talking to you about life insurance. Yep. Who's the life insurance more important for out of those two people?
Neither's more important. It's all important. Dude, you can be working at Walgreens and you need it, right? Okay. So it's like, people tend to think that I need to make a certain level of money before I need it. But man, if you, let's say you're 20 years old and you're on the come up, right?
Yep.
What happens when you make it at 30, but now for some reason you're unhealthy, or you get in trouble, you get a DUI, or you get a felony? Like, get it when you're young.
Yep.
And you can get a term policy for $30-$50 a month. Then if you do make it, we can convert it to whole life, start building your bank, start building your cash, and we can change it, right? But just get at least a term policy.
Well, and that's the thing, right, man? Like, people don't really realize if you wait.
Dude, it's so hard to get. Yeah.
So if I'm in my 20s versus buying it in my 40s, the premium's gonna be a lot different, correct?
Oh, super cheap. And with the company I work for, Penn Mutual, we basically use AI to underwrite you. Okay. So I've got approvals while I'm talking to them on the Zoom meeting as we're entering the shit. Hit complete. You've been approved.
Wow.
That quick. And now we're not talking some Mickey Mouse bullshit policy that some companies are offering. You see these TV ads for no medical under two. No, if this is a legit ass company and if it's just like under certain numbers, and if your age and your health, it's pretty cool.
Well, and I think that's the thing people also forget too. Well, fuck it, it's 20 years. I'm not paying the premium. I'll just buy it when I have a wife and kids. And
good luck getting it. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Develop a health condition. Yep. You know what I mean? And especially if you,
it's heartbreaking when I'm gonna cut you off. Sorry, but it's heartbreaking when they do need it. Yeah. And they come to you in their 50s. Yep. And you can't get it for them. Or it's outrageous. They can't afford it.
Bro, you have cancer. Yeah. You can't buy a life insurance policy.
I'm sorry. And they're like, the wife's getting, or the husband's getting it because the wife is going to need it. Yeah. And she's fucked. And it's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, you should have got this. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. I just don't know.
There's a term people in insurance say, well, we're not going to insure a burning building. We're not going to give you fire insurance for a house that's burning down. And, in my world, with the employee benefits side, we did a lot with group health insurance. There used to be a pre-existing condition limitation even in health insurance, and there'd be a lot of reasons, and people were kind of handcuffed to never leaving their employer because they couldn't go into the individual market and get health insurance. Yeah. Well, the Affordable Care Act came out, aka Obamacare, and it really changed all of that. So the concept of health insurance, you get health insurance in the individual market now, and they can't charge you more or decline you because of health conditions. Think about that. Think Obamacare for that. Yeah. And there's a lot of issues of why that shouldn't be. Anyway, people will think about that though and don't understand the pre-existing condition problems still exist in life insurance. Yep. Obamacare doesn't stretch to life insurance.
No, it's and I guess it's sad. Like I got friends too, and I got friends that are getting older, and they come to me, "Hey, Tony, help me out." It's like, I'd love to. You waited, and now it's too. And sometimes if you can even get it, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
So it's like double tragic. And I got a friend he's older, younger wife, younger kids, and can't do it. And he's looking to retire, and it's like, cool. The idea was to build a plan so he could use his retirement while he's alive and still pass something on with life insurance. Now we kind of got to get a little creative because he's going to basically burn through his shit while he's alive. Yeah. Pass with nothing, and we got to figure out something for the wife and kids now.
Yeah, that sucks, man. And well, here I'll tell you what I did, man. I did. I won't say the dollar amount, but 2 pretty major policies, and one of them I did a 20-year term.
Yep.
So at age 65, it's going to expire, and then the other one I did a whole life policy. Now, that whole life policy is significantly higher premium than the 20-year term policy. Yeah. But the 20-year term policy I bought has guaranteed renewability.
Okay.
But not guaranteeing what those rates are going to be.
Yeah, so they illustrate them like, here's 20 years, here's your terms for 20 years. And yes, we can renew it, but your term, the only way you'd ever do that is if you plan on dying the first year or two, it's going to expire. Like if you're terminal and it expires at 65 and you're terminal, it's like, I'm going to bite the bullet for a year or two because it's worth it. Otherwise, it's not.
Okay, so those premiums I get at 65, and we look at those and probably not even.
You wouldn't want it. Ideally, you'd convert that to more whole life if you felt the need to or had the capacity to. Yeah. Because you already have the whole life.
Yeah.
So if you do it right in the beginning, you wouldn't need to convert anything. Sometimes you can't afford a whole life when you're younger, and as time goes on, things get better in your life. You get more money. You can convert that term over to whole life and then have them. So I always set.
So you're saying don't even wait till that 20-year mark. Just
you can
now.
Start converting now if you can afford to.
Got it.
Yep. If as you can afford to, just start converting it.
So then my premiums look more like the other policy, which are about 4 times higher.
When you do that, though, you're going to want to overfund it better. I haven't looked at yours. We talked about this off air, but like it probably wasn't set up with optimal. And I tell everyone all the time, like not everyone, when they get a policy, they don't know what to ask for.
Okay.
You say, I need to get life insurance. That's it, right? Well, if you just give your agent a budget with whole life, say, man, I want to get $1,000 a month. Cool. Yep. Well, typically, and I'm not like singling anybody out or ragging anybody, but most people are just going to take that $1,000, put it all towards life insurance.
Got it.
The way I'll do it is probably 50-50. We'll do 500 towards life insurance and 500 overfunding. And what that's going to do is increase that cash value so much quicker, and then that death benefit's going to grow faster too.
Okay.
So just the way you engineer the policy is going to make it perform better, but literally the commission is cut in half doing it that way.
Okay, so you're saying that the agents have kind of a conflict of interest because they're getting a much heavier commission for all the money you pay for the insurance portion.
Yes, and I've printed them out. I've done the math. I've talked to people. There's not a mathematical way that the all insurance, all base policy is any better than the 50-50 ones I do. You can't argue. You couldn't argue. Oh well, in this case, there's not better.
Could you explain the cash value piece? People that haven't. So term insurance doesn't have a cash value.
I got a great analogy, man. So so think of a term policy like renting a house.
Okay.
You rent a house for 20 years and you move out after 20 years, you got nothing, right? But in the meantime, it was a cheaper place to live. The landlord fixed all the shit if things went down. There's a purpose, and it served a purpose, and it was not all for loss. It's decent, right?
Yep.
Same with term life insurance. It's going to expire. 20-year term, it's going to expire, but in that 20 years, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And it's going to cover you when you're young. Cool. It checks off a box, but really there's no long-term gain to it.
Yeah.
It's basically if you die early.
Yeah.
Whole life is like owning a house. As you pay off your mortgage, you get equity in your house, right?
Yep.
And then just like you don't have to wait to pay off that house to use the equity, you can get to the equity whenever.
So you don't have to die to access that cash value.
Exactly. That cash value you can use whenever. And the sooner you build it up by overfunding, the sooner you can use it.
But if somebody has like $1 million, but the death benefit's always going to be greater than the cash value, correct?
So you borrow from the cash value. If you pass away without repaying it, it comes off the death benefit. Okay. But that death benefit's always larger than the cash.
Oh, I see.
So basically what you're capturing is the difference between X where your death benefits start and Y when you pass. Okay. You capture the equity in between.
So here's what's interesting about what you just said there. So I love the analogy about renting or buying a house. And I've spoken on social media about that you shouldn't pay off your mortgage because interest rates were low a couple of years ago, blah, 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 blah. And I also said it's not a no-brainer to always buy. There are situations to rent. And I actually rented for a couple of years, and I was well into my 30s. I had never rented before, since college at least. And it was like 2010 to about 2014, I moved into the Trump Tower, and I rented initially because I wanted to see if I liked the building. I was supposed to do it for a year, but I just kept comparing. HOA,
Oh, yeah.
property taxes, everything else, versus what the rent is. And renting was a way better deal. Then the market caught up, and in 2014, it made way more sense to buy. So I shifted to buying. So I try to make that point to people, and people get so angry because they can't fathom the idea, because they're in their 50s and their whole life as a W-2 employee is their 401k savings and the equity in their house. That's all they freaking have. You follow me? So people, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, he's an idiot, because they don't understand any differently, right? So I love the fact, given the industry you're in, you still acknowledge that term life insurance might have a place.
Yep.
But you're also saying the pros and cons of the other side. Now, why would a guy like Dave Ramsey is notorious for this? Like,
fucking Dave Ramsey.
he always makes the point of almost to make it sound like life insurance guys are like snake oil salesmen, right? Because he'll make the point of, here's your insurance, here's your investments. Do not combine the two.
Yep.
And how do you feel about that?
I think he's sometimes can be right. I mean, I don't like the guy. I hate his voice. I hate his face, right? But like, but what he actually says, I think is just misleading. Okay. So I think for the Walmart crowd, maybe it works, right? If you're a big fat ass, like, go to Planet Fitness. Yeah. But if you're in shape, like, get a personal trainer, right? Right. So like, same with him. If you're broke, maybe listen to him to get started, but he's never going to get you rich. He's going to keep you in
I agree with that.
He'll keep you in that okay lifestyle. So, man, some people don't thrive and aren't wired like you and me. They don't want to get out of that W-2. So like, if that's you, good. But don't listen to him thinking you're going to get rich. That's what I hate. He's misleading people thinking that, oh, you're going to be rich if you do this. He's full of shit. So really what he's saying is buy term, invest the rest. A simple math equation you can do is like, if you took 50 grand and put it in the stock market and you make 10%, you got 55 grand. You make 5 grand, 10% ROI. Most people are pretty happy with that, right? But then if you take that same 50 grand, put it as a down payment on a rental property, and the house is worth 500 grand, 10% down, 500 grand, house goes up 10%. What'd you make? You made 50 grand. Right. So now your ROI is 100%. Got it. So by leveraging debt, you're going to get way further with just the equity, and people have a hard time, well, all debt's bad debt because Dave Ramsey says so. It's like, you're wrong, man. Like, so like, you're never going to outpace what you could in real estate with a stock market single digit ROI. So like, using life insurance to build your own bank, to borrow from that, to go reposition in another asset. That's what people miss. They're missing the connection between, they think life insurance is not going to have a good return. It's like, okay, we're not going to let that just sit there and never touch it. We're going to use that as a tool.
Well, you know what's interesting about that, man? It's like some of these people talk out of both sides of their mouth, because even if you can make that argument that, hey, maybe renting versus house is better than buying a house. One of the things that I'll see on my social media clips against it is, you're talking to a bunch of fucking knuckleheads. You think they're going to take that extra money and invest it? That money's gone, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
And same, like I rent where I live and I buy real estate with my other cash. My buying power goes to investment properties. It makes sense, but not everyone can follow that. Or, like you said, most people, their wealth is tied up in where they live. Like, if that house isn't making you money, it's not making you money. It's just that simple. Whereas you can put that same money into several houses that's going to appreciate higher. And it's just, people miss that, right? So what I try and do is educate people. I'm not trying to sell shit. I'm learning I'm in sales, but I'm still not really grasping that I'm in sales. I'm trying to like educate, and then here, and it usually works that way.
Well, so people that do what you do for a living, a lot of them at least, will try to go after that high net worth individual.
They step over all the people that they can help.
Okay, so you'll help the high net worth person, but you also help the other people.
Dude, my range of net worth is like 30 grand to I got people worth 20s and 30s a million.
Nice.
I do all of it. And obviously, to me, it's the same amount of work per client. So it's better for me to work with a high net worth dude. But like, I'm not going to step over people that I can help. And I also have a team I'm building. So my team, I'm slowly taking all the lower net worth people and kind of having the conversation, passing them off. They get taken care of, and I can focus on the more, because the higher the net worth, the longer the conversations are. The more the conversation, the rapport you have to build. It's not as easy, right? I can tell everyone needs term life insurance. Right. $50 a month. I can make the argument. Everyone needs it. The other side, you get higher and higher net worth. There's more conversations. It's tax savings. It's generational wealth. It's estate planning. It gets more into it. So it's more conversations.
Well, and also anybody that's new money, like I was, you need to be around people that understand this shit. You know what I mean? I think about like Kanye West and that Pierce, what's the guy named Pierce Morgan interview when Pierce asks him, starts giving him advice on financials, and Kanye is like,
yeah,
my net worth is more than yours. Why would I listen to you?
Yeah.
Well, there's reasons to listen to smarter people with this shit, and the estate tax piece is one of it. If I would have been closed-minded enough, being like, oh, this motherfucker telling me what to do with my money, estate taxes, have someone explain that shit to you if you're new money, because it's a motherfucker.
Yeah, and even like super high net worth people say, I don't need life insurance. I'll just pass on my estate to my. Okay, cool. Well, how much of your estate is taxed when it gets passed on? That's going to sunset in 2025, where I think it's dropping down from 18 or 20 million is protected. It's going to go down to like 12.
Really?
So the estate tax that you inherit, it's not nearly what people think it is. So, but life insurance is tax free.
Yeah.
So like, why not hedge your bet? Why not spend your money, dude?
Yeah.
Spend your money, then you die, you pass it on to your kids. Like, why? It's all just like education on wealthy people. Like,
well, your industry would be mother effed if, because there's a lot of people out there, usually on the left side of the political spectrum, that thinks no money should be passed on.
Correct.
It should be 100% estate tax and get recirculated, and there's an argument for that. But
sure,
to me, the argument against that is, okay, if I was in that position, I would be drinking out of a gold-plated coffee. If I had to spend all my money before I died, I wasn't able to leave it to anyone. You know what I'm saying? But the life insurance that Anthony's talking about is a vehicle to get around that. So when I die and my kids have money, it's convoluted, man. I mean, we got an estate, we got a trust, we got different names on the life insurance. I pay this fund, and this guy's the what's the guy called that is in charge of the trust?
Trustee.
Yeah, the trustee. I'm thinking of something else though. Like the administrator or something. I think that's the damn wrong word. But I pay him. He messages me once a year. Hey, I'm going to pull this money out of the account. Just put in writing that you give me approval to do this. I'm like, go.
Right.
Why do we need the paper trail? I go, okay. I don't know why. Right. But it's for my kids to get that full life insurance amount when I die.
Again, like I said, the longer you live, the less they're going to let you pass on. Right?
Okay.
Life insurance is set in stone. It's not moving. The reasoning, I think, like if you want to go down this rabbit hole, is like wealthy people do it.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not fucking with wealthy people, right? They're fucking with the poor people.
Right.
They're raising taxes. They're doing this. They're changing laws on Roth IRAs. They're changing Roth on your minimum distribution requirements.
Yep.
They're making that higher, right? They're not messing with life insurance. That's where all the wealthy people have their money. So that's just like follow the money, right? They're not messing with it. So that, and like the fact that you can get a policy for your kid at a young age, put couple $100 a month into it.
Right.
He could turn 21 with 6 figures of cash.
True that.
Tax-free cash. 21-year-old kid, what can he do? He can start a whole real estate empire at 21.
Yep.
And never have to get a job. Or he can go work and, still learn life skills, still go to college, whatever you want him to do. But he's got some money and he can start his life, and you put a couple $100 away.
Right.
And then the tragedy side of it, man, like kids die too. It's sad, and I've seen it. And how long do you got to take off work after a kid dies? Like, you don't know. My job before, building power lines, like the guys were so paycheck to paycheck sometimes they couldn't take a weekend off after they bury their kid. And it's like, dude, we're not getting a policy to get rich on our kids, but if you had 200 grand coming your way after your kid passes, like take a month off, dude. Like grieve, bury your kid, be there for your wife. Like people forget about that stuff because it's so uncommon, but it does happen. And then you're in a bind, dude. So
I will say this. So as you know, I worked in employee benefits, and so every once in a while we'd sell these group life insurance policies that would have riders or even a voluntary benefit to put your spouse or your kids on. And there's a lot of W-2 workers, right? So it goes the full spectrum. But I will say that I've seen it firsthand. You get that $20,000 benefit, you lost your kid. For some of the people, that's like
it's a lot.
Well, it's changes everything. They have nothing to smile about right now, and this like certainly helps the process.
It's
these are not people.
No one's bringing back a kid, but dude, why make it a double tragedy and then you can't pay the bills, or why make it a trickle down effect for the rest of your bloodline, right?
Well, and it's like, how shitty do you feel too that you can't have you don't have enough money to have a proper funeral service? Well, and these funeral homes want their money up front. They're not charities; these are private businesses. So you're going in there and you're broke. You want to bury your kid, and they're telling you I don't know what a funeral costs, but it's called 10 grand. It's like. Dude. You don't have the money. If a dude's they ain't doing the funeral.
Yeah. if you gotta think, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, how you come up with 10 grand for a funeral and taking time off work? Or you're not, dude. So it's a tragedy when anybody's lost, right?
Yeah.
No matter what, whether it's old age, the earlier they die, the more of a tragedy it is. But like, why double that by the financial burden, man? And I have another thing that just came up. So I had a lady reach out to me. My social media presence has grown, as you mentioned, and I'm trying. I'm forcing myself out there. And I never wanted to be a Jake Paul celebrity, right? I wanted to get my voice out there so people can reach out to me. And I had a lady reach out to me, and I think I'm gonna have her on my podcast too.
Nice.
And she had a adult child pass away.
Yep.
She was an organ donor, so she was on life support for 6 weeks. That's not cheap.
Wow.
And that mom is still paying for that 9 years later.
Wow.
So like, not only did she lose her adult daughter, now she's stuck with this every month she's sending this money out. It's like a constant reminder. So it's like, man, like just there's so many things that go into it, man, and it's so inexpensive compared to the other things. Like, it's important to get it.
Yeah. Well, let's transition a little bit, dude. I'd like to, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, people that are in sales that listen to this show.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, well, I know, but I want to hear your take on it. For your industry, how important is it to be networking with different centers of influence?
Oh, it's big, man. Because when I came into the industry, I just stayed in my lane. I worked with just linemen. I just wanted to be the guy for all my lineman buddies, right? And that's all I knew. And I was like, I was off to a hot start. Okay. Then I was like, well, these guys, there's a cap to their income. There's a cap to how much I can make with these guys.
You're not selling $10 million policies to them.
So it's like, okay, I'm helping my boys out. But like, if I want to expand and get better, I got to get in different rooms. Yeah. I attach myself to these networking people.
Well, and if I'm a lineman making a couple $100,000 a year, I'm not worried about the estate tax one day.
Correct.
The big policies, I would imagine, come from the high net worth people that are trying to get out of the estate tax, right? That's where you get the $10 and $20 million policies.
Yep. And then also, like, the guys I'm helping out, like, I'm trying to get them to get a vehicle to get out of the trade too. Okay. Like, build up some cash value. Okay. Reposition into some real estate. Start doing that, or reposition it. Have enough of a cushion to get out and go start a business or something, right? So that's the goal with those guys. And the GoFundMe pages are out of control. Okay. These guys die on the job. There's a fucking ticker every goddamn day we see one, or we reset the clock, whatever. We see there's endless amounts of GoFundMe pages for linemen. Yep. That my goal is like, hey dude, we don't need that. Fuck that. You're gonna raise 30, 40 grand maybe. Yeah. And you don't have $30 a month to cover that. Oh, so interesting. That's kind of my goal. Like, dude, like, giving back to my industry and my trade, like that's my goal. Like, it's sad enough to see it. But so that was a really big part of like why I was doing it. Yeah. But then going back to your point of like, okay, I can help these guys so much, but how can I expand, right? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not a realtor, so I started working with realtors. I started getting into college athlete scene and just running into guys like you, like, hey man, let's talk, and just being relatable. Yeah. And so far so good. People like me enough,
Well, my wealth manager is at a company called UBS. It's one of the big dogs, and I have it mixed up. I work with AB Bernstein as well as Merrill Lynch, but it was my UBS guy that put me in touch with his life insurance guy, and then there was also a lawyer that specializes in the estate planning and the trusts. You know what I mean? Yeah. It felt like. It felt like, okay, the only reason I even know these guys was from this freaking referral.
And I'm starting to do that too with like the trust people, right? Yeah. Trust, lawyers, all that stuff. I got people do umbrella policies for people, right? So like, I don't do that. So I'm gonna send them off to you, and they don't do life insurance, so send them to me, right? Yeah. It's learning what you're good at. And again, just being likable, being the, you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room or the dumbest guy in the room. You want to be kind of in the middle. You want to provide some value. Yep. You don't want it to be, it's okay if you're just some kid, get in the right room and just hang there, be a fly on the wall. That's cool. But I think the best value is being like the middle dude. Okay. Like having some value for anybody in the room, but not being so arrogant like you're the top dog. No, I know my role. I can be in a room. I can be in a room with you and all your buddies and provide value. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But I'm not the smartest guy. Right. But I'm not the young, dumb, pimple-faced kid either. Right. Yeah. So there's a happy medium. I think people sometimes say, I'll be the dumbest guy in the room. Maybe not the dumbest guy. Like be in the middle. That's the sweet spot, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so are you using it? And here's what's always interesting, right? So you're doing stuff on social media now. Yeah. I want to hear about your podcast. But,
yeah, we have to have you on one day.
But this is what messes up people. Like like why there's so many damn podcasts out there is because most people are doing it as a funnel to build their business. Me, I'm doing all this social media shit, all this. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm not really selling anything. Yeah. But I would think for your industry especially, oh my God, what a nice, for lack of a better term, almost a mousetrap to get potential clients on the show, feature them. Yeah. What are you guys going to be talking about on your show?
So the cool thing, the thing I'm most proud about is the name of it, right?
Okay.
It's called the Financial Advisory Podcast.
Nice.
And I use the same logo as a parental advisory sticker that used to come on CDs.
Boom.
When you get like, I was into heavy metal, still am. Like you get this, if the sticker was on there, it was a good record, right? So I'm going to get it. So like.
That's my era, man. When that thing came out,
I know.
man, when like 1989 or 90, I think it was, whatever.
Tipper Gore fucking made it a thing.
That's right.
And it backfired so bad on those fuckers. They thought that it was going to deter everyone wanted it. Oh, it's got fuck in it. I want that. It's
Dude,
like.
It was Two Live Crew ends up just coming out with songs. F. But listen, I swear all the damn time, and I grew up on this shit, so maybe they were right.
Right. But like, that's why I'm like, it's a catchy logo, right?
Yeah.
So, and the whole idea of the show is like, we're not talking about. We went to a little bit of your story. But how do you make money? How do you keep money? Where'd you go wrong? Just a little bit of a story stuff, and then, it's a little entrepreneur based, but successful. Anybody who has a level of success has a struggle too.
I gotcha.
So here and that's, it's like humanizing people.
Yep.
And then somehow tying together, how we can help each other. Or I had Clarence on from your event,
Clarence is awesome.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. So like just network. It's branding, it's networking, it's content. I'm learning how important content is.
Yep.
And whether it's good, bad, otherwise. Like the one I've got like 10,000 views on one of my things. I'm talking about my birthmark on my head right here. And I'm just like talking about it, looking in the camera like I am now, and it's got like fucking 10,000 views.
Really?
It means it has nothing to do about any of my business, but like the weirdest thing will go viral.
Okay.
It's like like you said.
Yeah.
I want people to see what I'm doing.
Nice.
Right? It's important enough to get it out there.
Yep.
And then, I'm going to have this one lady about her fucking tragedy story. It's like, it's not really my vibe, but man, it's important to get out there. Right. So like, let's get a couple of those things out there. And just like someone at home's watching, looking for me to say something funny or see the Lambo, but then they catch some real influence or real information. Like, man, I'd call them up and we get some life insurance, right? Or just awareness,
Right on, man.
It's working so far.
Well, listen, I try to keep these shows between 30 and 40 minutes because I think I want to have a good quality with that airtime. But I'm just looking at the clock here. We're about a half hour in, and you've been spitting freaking gems, man.
Good.
Before we end this, is there anything else you want to tell the audience that we didn't get to?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. No, I think we kind of freaking nailed it,
good.
dude.
Yeah,
freaking nailed it, bro.
Yeah.
Bro. Anthony Ficarra, thank you for joining 2000% Raise,
man.
buddy.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Hey, can I get? Oh, are you still going? You still rolling?
Hey, wait.
Can I get,
and one more thing.
And one more thing. Can I get you to commit to come on my show?
Oh shit! Yes, of course, of course. I like being on people's podcasts.
I love it.
It's always just the freaking logistics of it.
Of course,
because you're in Denver.
Yep.
I'm in Chicago. Virtual is easy. The in-person stuff takes a little bit of planning.
Well, I think one or two things. One, you have to have an event in Denver soon enough. He's always posting about like, where should I do my next? I'm always like Denver.
Exactly.
Denver.
And you know how many other people are saying Denver? Zero.
That's all right. We're gonna get Denver on there. Or I go to Chicago plenty of times. We'll get you in Chicago, or maybe here in Vegas. Whatever.
Awesome.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Let's go. That concludes another episode of 2000% Raise with your host, John Cerasani. Make sure you're following on all social media platforms. Ciao.